وسهلا. اهلا وسهلا. اهلا وسهلا.
tu transportes dans Comme on a tout, on a saisi, non?
I'll have Marcel send it to you. Okay. Do you have my email address? Like the name of the ministry. What? Wait. Voilà. Yeah. He just has to wait. No. It's depend, huh? It's depend on the photo. That's monopoly money. Be upset. I can be very upset.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this high-level sitting of the 108th session of the International Labour Conference. I suggest that we begin our proceedings without further ado, as once again we will be honoured this morning by the visit of various heads of states and governments, as well as high-level personalities. And I know we are all eager to listen to their messages. I should like to make a brief reminder this morning that freedom of expression is a vital feature of the International Labour Organization. To exercise this freedom in a spirit of mutual respect, it is essential that all delegates use parliamentary language, respect the accepted procedure, refer only to the items under discussion, and avoid raising any question foreign to these matters. This discipline is necessary if we want our work to be effective and successful. And now, delegates, may I have your attention. Before we begin our proceedings, let me express our deep sorrow and sympathy with the people of the Republic of Mali. On Monday, 10th of June, they experienced a dreadful terrorist attack which took the life of over 100 children, women, and men. For this reason, President Boubacar has had to cancel his visit to our conference. On behalf of the 108th session of the International Labour Conference, the officers of the conference condemned this terrorist attack that took the lives of innocent people in the Republic of Mali. Such an act of terrorism is an attack on the whole of humanity and on our values, which we resolutely condemn. We express our heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims and to the people, the government, and the social partners of Mali. We also wish a speedy recovery to the injured. The delegates attending the 108th session of the International Labour Conference express their full solidarity with the government and people of Mali at this difficult moment. So now we are waiting for the first speaker of this morning's session. His Excellency Ms. Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, and to say a few words of welcome before he addresses the Assembly. Jamaica became a member of the ILO in 1962. Since then, the ILO has enjoyed Jamaica's support in discharging its mandate. Prime Minister, you are pursuing policies to make Jamaica a modern, peaceful society in the face of considerable challenges, including those shared by other small island developing states. Among other things, you are seeking to build resilience to be better able to withstand the impact of crises, shocks, and natural disasters. You want to give your people, and especially your young people, a real stake in the economy and society with inclusive economic growth and meaningful job creation. Education has been a keystone of your strategy. You pledged to build real partnership with the private sector, the workers, civil society, the Jamaican diaspora, the opposition, and international partners in order to achieve the vision of shared prosperity for all Jamaicans. You are making that intention a reality through your presence today, and we are honored to have you with us. Prime Minister, you have the floor.
President of the Conference, Director General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends. Jamaica is honored to speak at this high-level plenary of the 108th session of the International Labour Conference to commemorate the centenary of this most important global institution. Jamaica's democracy was born out of the struggle of the labor movement. Labor is a respected and deeply integrated partner in the tripartite collaborative culture that is a feature of our socio-political system. Indeed, labor has been a critical partner in overcoming political and economic crises in Jamaica throughout the last century, and certainly since our independence in 1962. A decade ago, Jamaica teetered on the brink of economic collapse. The global financial meltdown at the time exposed the weak foundations of the Jamaican economy. The truth is that for decades, we had defied economic logic in the management of our fiscal affairs, and now we had to reckon with it. Our national debt reached an unsustainable high of almost 150% of GDP at the time, one of the highest debt-to-GDP ratios in the world. Our net international reserve fell to dangerously low levels. And by 2013, overall unemployment stood at almost 16%, and youth unemployment at 36%. In the face of this national crisis, Jamaica engaged tough IMF programs requiring at the time rescheduling of local debt and a commitment to a primary surplus of 7.5% and deep structural and institutional reforms to our public sector pension system and the national wage bill. Success in overcoming this crisis meant that all stakeholders, the government, employers, and the unions had to sacrifice. There had to be a consensus on sacrifice. Government and the opposition had to agree to faithfully implement a program of fiscal discipline regardless of political risks. The private sector had to agree to voluntarily accept a reduction in interest rates and a rescheduling of principal. And unions had to agree to a wage freeze and general reform of the public sector, which included the introduction of a contributory pension scheme. Building on our history and culture of a collaborative tripartite system, a strong social consensus mechanism was developed. This was supported by formal institutions such as the Economic Program Oversight Committee, which monitored government implementation of the agreed reforms and reported to the public, and the National Partnership Council, consisting of representatives of academia, civil society, employers, labor, the opposition, and the government, which subscribed to a much broader reform agenda to include rule of law, energy diversification, and economic growth. Today, I can proudly report that Jamaica is in a good, sunny place. We have reduced our debt from 150% to around 96% of GDP. We have brought down unemployment from 16% to 8%, and youth unemployment from around 35% to now 22%. As Jamaica reflects on its economic recovery, and the IL0 reflects on its 100 years of progress for the working masses, we must also contemplate the pathway for development for the future of the worker and the future of work. Regardless of the economic and social crises that will undoubtedly face us and the changes in technology that will redefine the worker and the workplace, there is an overarching covenant that links the past to our future. It is to be found in the notion of a social contract for inclusiveness and equity, which is as relevant today as it was in 1919. It places a moral and philosophical obligation on democratic institutions and government to ensure that all citizens share in the progress and prosperity of their country. Undoubtedly, the increasing success of the Jamaican economy owes much to the tripartite arrangements and the pivotal role the labor movement played in moving the nation towards consensus on shared sacrifice. As the Jamaican economy emerges, the government recognizes the social contract which binds our stakeholders in consensus. Where there is shared sacrifice, there must be shared prosperity. People must be at the center of development. The best way to place people at the center of development and shared prosperity is to give them the opportunity to work, to be engaged in that sacred process of transforming their labor and creativity into wealth, earning a living from their effort, eating their own bread, not by crime, not by immoral means, not by dependency, not by pity, but by work. That is why we're not only seeking to grow our economy, we have actively pursued an economic policy of job creation. I am proud to say that more Jamaicans are employed today than at any other time in our independent history. The government is not only seeking to expand employment, we are paying keen attention to the quality of jobs and the conditions of work. We are committed to the decent work agenda through empowering our citizens with education and training to make them marketable, employable, and productive in a competitive labor market and economy. In fulfillment of our decent work agenda, the government has increased its effort and resources in making our citizens workforce ready through various special training modalities and apprenticeships, such as the Career Advancement Program, the HOPE Program, meaning help our people excel through housing, opportunities, production, and employment, and the Jamaica National Service Corps. Tens of thousands of young Jamaicans are being made work-ready, and tens of thousands more continue to be trained through the traditional modalities of our National Training Agency. We have tabled the Occupational Safety and Health Bill, which is now making its way through a Joint Select Committee of Parliament. When this bill is passed, it will establish a robust legal framework to protect and enhance the health and safety of the Jamaican worker in the workplace. To protect one of our most vulnerable group of workers, the government ratified the Convention Concerning Decent Work for Domestic Workers, which seeks to set employment standards and secure rights for domestic workers. We are also working to address issues of gender discrimination and social protection for all workers. The Sexual Harassment Bill, to primarily protect women from violence, harassment, and discriminatory practices in the workplace, is soon to be tabled in our Parliament. Decent work must ultimately mean that the worker can create wealth and own assets from their effort. To this end, we have removed employee income tax from more than 60% of all workers in Jamaica. We have also sought to empower our workers by making special provisions for them to purchase shares in profitable public sector enterprises which are being divested. We have significantly lowered mortgage rates, and minimum wage earners can access mortgages at 0% through our National Housing Trust. In addition, we have introduced the option of an intergenerational mortgage to assist older workers in poor households to acquire housing solutions. Mr. President, never before has mankind faced such an enormous challenge that is as discernible as the likely outcomes related to the fourth industrial revolution. The scale, scope, and complexity of the world of work in the next decade will be unrecognizable. The fusion of technologies will obliterate the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. The humanness of the world of work is diminishing as automation subsumes labor input. Artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming almost every aspect of our working lives, enabling enterprises to make faster and better decisions in the boardrooms, increasing operational efficiency, and innovating new products and services. It is the downside to these transformational changes that will preoccupy our minds in the Caribbean and globally. From the perspective of labor, this is a grim reminder of the importance of the 100-year-old covenant, which is embodied in the preamble of the ILO's constitution, which states that whenever the conditions of labor bring about injustice, hardships, and deprivation among large numbers of people, the existence of world peace becomes imperiled. The preamble also called upon every nation to adopt humane conditions of labor, because a failure to do so constitutes an obstacle in the way of other nations which desire to improve the conditions in their own country. Hence, the daunting task that lies ahead of us in Jamaica is to embrace the sweeping technological changes, while at the same time protecting and preserving the dignity of our labor. One of the most rapidly expanding job-creating sectors of the Jamaican economy is the business process outsourcing sector. However, this sector is most exposed to the cutting edge of technological change and the replacement of jobs. Jamaica will not be daunted by this. We understand that we must upskill our labor force and make the investments in creating our digital and knowledge society to compete effectively for the jobs of the future. We recognize that there is much more to be done for the Jamaican worker. However, much progress is being made within a cooperative and collaborative framework of social consensus building and respect for the human element as the center of the social contract for development. With this understanding intact, Jamaica will boldly face the challenges of the future, confident of success. Mr. President, the leaders of the Caribbean remain conscious that the future and our obligations to the next generation now summons us to seize the moment and draw on the creative imagination that is forever located in the dynamism of a Caribbean tradition that puts people first. In this regard, we are guided by these words from the Philadelphia Declaration. The war against want requires to be carried on with unrelenting vigor within each nation, and a continuous and concerted effort in which the representatives of workers and employers enjoying equal status with those of government join with them in free discussion and democratic decisions with a view to the promotion of the common welfare. Together, Mr. President, we must ensure that the future of work is managed in a strategic, sustainable, transformative manner that leaves no one behind as we seek to move our people from poverty to prosperity. I thank you.
Many thanks, Your Excellency. Thank you very much that you tell us your success story for that sunny place, Jamaica, that puts people first, as we said. And of course, through tripartite consensus to shared sacrifice, but also achieving social contract for equity, fairness and inclusion, and end of the day, share prosperity, as he informed us. Through decent work agenda, investing in your people's skills, including digital skills, as you said, and their well-being, reducing income tax for all people and other financial means, help to your people to live better life. And of course, that underline for all of us that the peace is even more important now for all humanity, including the social peace, and we have to keep this in our mind. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Once again, on behalf of my fellow officers and the delegates of the 108th session of the International Labour Conference, thank you for coming to address our Assembly today. Thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, I kindly ask you to please remain seated to allow Prime Minister Holness to leave the Assembly Hall. We will resume our work in this Assembly Hall in a few minutes with a visit of Her Excellency Mr. Christophe Joseph Marie Dabiré, Prime Minister Burkina Faso.